We good? I had to rest for a second. That stream was so fucking unbearable. I was getting so angry. I literally needed to relax. That would have been bad, but decent card we had. There's a few good fights on it. Actually, did surprisingly better than I thought. If you're coming in, you can put some questions in the chat if you want. I'm basically going to be recapping the whole entire card, giving my opinion, all that stuff. So if you have any questions, I'll answer them in the chat. If you have any, I'll just run through the card real quick. This card took a lot out of me, 100%. So yeah, let's get right through it. We'll go through the whole thing. We have Carlston Harris versus Jared Gooden as our first matchup. I kind of came in late on this for the fight companion, but in the first round, they were kind of trading shots, did a really good job. Both of them gassed out in that first round. Namely, Carlston Harris looked at more visually gassed out. But then after that, Carlston Harris definitely got his grappling and wrestling game going, and he was just able to control Jared Gooden for most of this fight and basically dominate him on the ground. So very good win for Carlston Harris. That's basically all we got here. I was really nervous that he's going to lose this, but looking at the rest of the card, did it really fucking matter? I'm just going to be honest. Big mess for me on this card. I'm not very happy about it, but let's move on. Good win for Carlston Harris, especially against the Jared Gooden, who did miss weight and did come in on short notice. So good win for Carlston Harris. For the next matchup on the card, we had Tyson Nam versus Bruno Silva. A very impressive performance by Bruno Silva on this card in this matchup for sure. Tyson Nam has a lot of power, is a very good fighter. He is a little older, but he's still a very good fighter. He just KO'd Ode Osborne in his last matchup, so he is a very good fighter. He KO'd one of the better fighters at flyweight, one of the better unranked fighters at flyweight. Bruno Silva looks super impressive. The front kick he landed to get Tyson Nam in this submission was absolutely insane. I was watching it, just came out of nowhere. He flicked it right up super fast, flicked it up. Tyson Nam went back to his feet. I believe maybe there's something in the middle between there, but he got up back up to his feet. Bruno Silva kind of just caught him in like a choke and basically rear naked choked him while standing and then fell back into his hooks. So that was an insane performance there. Looked really good. Outstruck Tyson Nam, landed some really good shots on Tyson Nam, and it looked super impressive. So he's definitely a guy I'm gonna be looking out for I guess further in his career. He'll look super impressive here. Front kick right up the middle, dropped Tyson Nam, got up, caught him right in like a choke, rear naked choke submission, and then went back on his back and then completely submitted him. So he looks super impressive there. Good win for good win for Bruno Silva in this matchup. We have Ariana Lipski versus JJ Aldrich. I chose JJ Aldrich for this one, but Ariana Lipski outstruck JJ Aldrich, hurt her a couple times. I believe she hurt her really badly at the end of the first round. And basically controlled it for the rest of the fight. It just is what it is. But underdog or go to decision on some of these fights. JJ Aldrich did not look good. Ariana Lipski looked very good. Was really good at countering JJ Aldrich in this matchup. Just was able to just touch her up every time she got to that range of Ariana Lipski in the pocket. So very good win for Ariana Lipski. Let's move on. Not too many momentum. Like Bruno Silva had a really good performance. It's basically what we got out of those early on fights. We had Josh Fremd versus Cedriquez Dumas. This matchup was kind of underwhelming. I thought Cedriquez Dumas was going to put on a little bit better of a performance here, but he lost by by submission in the second round. Josh Fremd did a really good job. Dumas had his moments, I guess. I think he landed a couple good punches in the first round, but he's a very long dude. It's like very disguisingly long. Like, I don't know if it's like how his arms are built, but like the way he throws out his jabs, it's like you can't even tell that he's as long as he is. So I guess that's pretty cool about Dumas. But I mean, he just got his ass whooped in this fight by Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd looked really good in this matchup. Good win for him, especially coming off of that loss to Trayshawn Gore. So not too much to say here. Josh Fremd basically just dominated him the whole. Nah, I wouldn't say dominated him. Dumas held his own at the beginning, but then just got submitted in the second round. Just got his ass beat. So good win for Fremd. After all the stuff that came out about Dumas, especially this week leading up to his fight with all the controversial stuff and his criminal record, it'll be interesting to see if they keep him in the UFC after that performance, but we'll see what they do. But good win for Josh Fremd. It seemed like this was one of those easier fights where Dumas to actually try and get a win over one of the guys that the UFC thinks is not as good in Josh Fremd. So very underwhelming performance for Cedriquez Dumas. Let's move up on the card. We have a very interesting matchup here. A very fun matchup. Rafael Sunsao versus Davey Grant. Okay. So on the judges' scorecards, I believe we had I think 2 judges had it 2-0 for a Sun Sao before the actual submission. What's up, Turan? Oh man, this card was annoying. The main card was annoying. I liked some of the fights were nice, but man, this card took a lot out of me. But solid card in general. But for this fight, this was a really fun fight. 2-0 a Sun Sao, basically on a couple of the judges' scorecards. I think both of the judges' scorecards. I think one of the judges gave Davey Grant like the first round or something. But in the third round, very controversial call with a lot of people, but I guess Davey Grant used the fence to get himself up or to move into a position. Keith Peterson put him down, took a point from Davey Grant, and made him go out of the position, which I basically kind of understand because he was technically in top position. So they said since he had the top position, you don't need to put him back in position because he was on top. Technically, he wasn't actually on top. It was more like he had the advantage in the position, basically, is what it was. So I kind of get it. And I also think if you're going to take a point away, in my brain, I mean, might as well just put him out of position anyways. But once he went out of position, Davey Grant landed some really nice shots. Probably would have 10-8'd that third round, and it probably would have been a little bit more interesting if the round went to a decision. But knocked down Rafael Sunsao, hit a spinning back fist, knocked him down. Rafael Sunsao went in for a single leg, and then Davey Grant ended up getting a a inverted triangle, reverse triangle, and it was absolutely brutal. 443 put Rafael Sunsao out, and then forced Sunsao to retire basically after. Very good career for Sunsao, has an incredible record. Honestly, just looking through it on stream, we had, if you want to run through some of the names that he's beaten Jorge Masvidal. He's beaten, let me see, he's beaten Joe Lozon, lost him Uriah Faber. Let's see, he beat TJ Dillashaw. He beat Aljamain Sterling, beat Marlon Moraes, beat Rob Font. So he has some really good wins on his record. One of the legends of the bantamweight division. So it's kind of sad to see him retire, but good win for Davey Grant. Pulled it out at the end. Very good win. Next matchup, we have Lucas Bresky versus Carl Williams. This matchup, I chose Bresky. He basically just got out-wrestled and out-grappled in this matchup. Not too much to say here. Carl Williams looked really good. He is, how old is he? 33 years old, so he's a little bit older for one of these Dana White Contender Series fighters. I believe he got into it later, so I think he got into it at like 28 years old, so I guess he could still develop a little bit. And I think he's a heavyweight, so age doesn't really matter too much unless you're like super, super old. So maybe Carl Williams can develop a little bit more. Is actually a little bit more muscled out for heavyweight for his weight class and how big he is. So it'll be very interesting to see how he develops. But yeah, he was able to just out wrestle and out grapple Bresky in this matchup. Let's move on. Oh, okay, another matchup that just got me pissed off. Vitor Petrino versus Anton Turkalj. I chose Vitor Petrino. Vitor Petrino landed some really good shots on Anton Turkalj. Was basically kind of tossing him around, surprisingly. I thought Anton Turkalj would probably win some of the more wrestling exchanges, which he did, but that's a funny looking dude, Carl Williams. Yeah, he trains with Sean Strickland. He's friends with the dude, so you can only imagine how the dude probably is in general. But for this matchup, Vitor Petrino is just a really big dude and super athletic, especially for light heavyweight. So he's able to just throw around Anton Turkalj, was able to defend the takedowns just due to his size and strength. But the thing that pissed me off in this matchup was Mark Smith allowing like 5 cage grabs, like really bad cage grabs. It's not just like holding it like against the fence in like a clinch scenario. Literally, Anton Turkalj was basically pulling himself up off the cage, and Mark Smith gave him like 5 warnings, no points taken away. This happened again later on in the card with Mark Smith. It absolutely pissed me off. Like, you can't have Keith Peterson take away a point for what Davey Grant did and have Anton Turkalj do it 5 times without a point getting taken away. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think if you grab the cage like that, I think a point should be taken away 100%. Carl Williams is kind of small for heavyweight. He looks like a light heavyweight. So yeah, he did look smaller. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was 240. And he didn't actually look that fat. He actually looked decently sized for heavyweight. I think he's 240, I believe. I don't know how I can check his weight. Let's go. me see if. Let me check something. I think they have weigh-in results on here. Yeah, let me check. I want to see how much he weighed. But I think he was 240 when it showed. Yeah, 240, and he actually didn't look that fat. Surprisingly. I think he was a little bit heavier than Lucas Bresky. And Lucas Bresky had like all that skin off him, and he looked a little bit fatter. I think he was on sauce or something. I think he did get popped actually by USADA or whatever. But Carl Williams actually looks decent sized for heavyweight. Maybe he can put on a little bit more muscle, or a little bit more size in general. But for Vitor Petrino, this matchup probably should have been ended a little bit earlier. He probably could have gotten a finish if it wasn't for Mark Smith being I can't say that word, being an idiot and allowing Anton Turkalj just to cage grab the whole time. And we're gonna go into another fight. Let's see okay, this co-main event. So we got a few fights till we get back to that. But Mark Smith was really pissing me off this card. Mario Batista versus Guido Canetti. Mario Batista looked really good again. Showed a lot of that wrestling and grappling. Looked super impressive. Absolutely, I wouldn't say destroyed, but he was very dominant in his win. Just absolutely outclassed Guido Canetti in the wrestling and the grappling. Looked super impressive. And ended up getting the submission win. I don't believe... Yeah, he just looked really good in this matchup. Very fast. Was able to take advantage of a lot of scenarios on the ground against Guido Canetti, and he was defending it really well too, and Mario Batista still found a way to win. It's a very good win for Batista, not too much to get there. He did call out, I believe, a top 15 opponent or Cody Garbrandt, so we'll see if he gets the fight. He probably won't get Cody Garbrandt, but he might get a top 15 opponent, so we'll see what happens there. Super impressive win for Mario Batista. Let's move on. Jonathan Martinez versus Said Nurmagomedov. I thought Said Nurmagomedov won this fight. I thought you could have argued a 2-1, maybe 3-1, but I think 2-1 for sure. You probably could have argued for Said Nurmagomedov, and he didn't get it. They gave the last 2 rounds to Jonathan Martinez, and I didn't agree with it. I thought Said Nurmagomedov won the first round pretty clearly. I thought the third round I thought was relatively clear also, and the second round was pretty close also. So maybe you can give it 2-1 Martinez, but I thought for sure Said won the fight. I was pretty shocked at that. So good win for, I guess, good win for Jonathan Martinez, I guess. I thought Said won. But let's move on. I switched my pick to Ryan Spann, and that was a really big mistake this week. I should went Krylov, and I got baited in choosing Spann. We'll never do it again. A very good win for Krylov. He basically said a post-fight speech that he said that after he got sick, he just wanted to make quick work real quick because he didn't know how he would be later on in this matchup in like the second or third round. So he wanted to make pretty quick work of Ryan Spann. Went out there very quickly. Some really nice scrambles, but Ryan Spann basically, I think, reverse position on Nikita Krylov. Ended up running into his guard and running into a triangle, which was very smart for Ryan Spann. Tapped immediately. But a very good win for Nikita Krylov. If this fight would have probably happened 2 weeks ago, I would have been right. But, you win some and you lose some, I guess, when you change your picks. So, we'll never do that again. Nikita Krylov is a beast, and I like Nikita Krylov a lot. So, good win for Nikita Krylov. I'm just running through his card. Oh, boy, here's the fight. All right, so for Alexander Volkov and Alexander Romanov, I picked Romanov. But in this matchup, there was a point, especially at the beginning, where Romanov went for a takedown, and then Alexander Volkov grabbed the fence and was literally pulling the fence with him while Romanov was trying to get the takedown. Mark Smith yelled at him like, "Oh, don't grab the fence." But like, bro, like, what do you... He got out of that position because of the fence grab and ended up TKOing Romanov on the ground because he got out of that takedown. It was absolutely insane. I honestly thought that Romanov really just needed one takedown, and he probably could have finished it on the ground. So it was really annoying. A couple of these fights honestly could have gone the other way, and my record would be fine. But I don't know. Mark Smith really pissed me off. He's a horrible ref. He's worse than Herb Dean, probably worse than Goddard too. Goddard's horrible also. I think Goddard's worse than Herb Dean, and he's worse. Mark Smith is worse than Goddard for sure. But Mark Smith should be fired. This was horrible. This was embarrassing. I don't know how you can warn a guy 5 times about a fence grab and not do anything about it. I don't know how you can have such a match-changing fence grab just ruin a fight. When was the last time Mark Smith even like refed a main event. Seriously, that's the kind of faith they have in Mark Smith at this point. Let's just be real. I'm kind of over it. But for the main event, Merab just pretty much just outclassed Petr Yan. There's not too much to say. Let's go into the statistics real quick because I have them pulled up. But Merab basically just attempted a bunch of takedowns. He out-cardioed, outworked. Not necessarily out-cardioed because Yan's cardio wasn't necessarily horrible either, but he just outworked Yan. That's basically how he won the fight. He was missing a lot of his shots. A lot of his shots was going on the guard of Petr Yan. You can see he attempted 338 strikes, or at least that's a significant strikes. Yeah, so that's total strikes. I'm sorry, 400 strikes, and they completely scuffed the guard of Petr Yan. 200 strikes landed, so about 50% of the total strikes that actually even touched the skin of of not necessarily skin, but touched Petr Yan in general. And 147 of 338 even like landed cleanly on Petr Yan. So take that as you will. He was throwing a lot, not necessarily technical stuff. Maybe towards the end of the fight, he was landing some decent shots, but 11 of 49 takedowns, 22% takedown rate is a very, very rough. He basically just failed a bunch of takedowns, got the record for failing a bunch of takedowns. I'm not going to hate on Merab too much, but he outworked Yan here. I don't know necessarily what's going to happen with Yan at this point. I think he should kind of just stay out of the mix for a second. Just let the division play out a little bit. Just see what happens. Like, I don't even know. Because Merab won't fight for the title. So there's an issue there. Which is good for Sean O'Malley, I guess. If he's #1 contender, you don't have to worry about that. But Petr Yan probably moves right below Merab or under Marlon Vera. Depending on how Cheeto and Sandhagen goes, I guess someone moves ahead of Petr. But if Cheeto beats Sandhagen, you can make... But do you really want to do that? If Cheeto loses to Sandhagen, you can make Cheeto versus Petr Yan and have them fight. But if Cheeto beats Sandhagen, you can figure out what you want to do that with, like O'Malley or not. I don't know. O'Malley probably gets the #1 contender fight after Sterling Cejudo. But Petr Yan, I don't know who he fights at this point. You know, I think he just needs to let the division play out. I think there's going to be a little bit of a switch up in the division. We're going to see a little bit of these guys start funneling through every part of the rankings here. I think we'll see Rob Font start to drop a little bit. My voice is getting super dry and I can't speak. We'll see Rob Font drop a little bit in the rankings. I think we'll see Pedro Munoz drop a little bit more. We'll see like guys like Umar and Yanez. Maybe Chris Gutierrez will probably stay at the same area. Maybe Jack Shore moves up a little bit. Song Yadong probably stays similar area. Maybe Dominic Cruz, depending on who he fights. If it is Figgy, he might just stay in the same area or he might move up. But very interesting matchups. I kind of said on stream, what do you think about this? Umar versus Merab. Basically not eliminate someone from the division or the rankings, but eliminate who you think the best wrestler is in that division. So you can kind of just push them a little bit, you know? Like you kind of just want to figure that out. Umar or Merab. If Umar wins, you get rid of the Merab issue with not fighting for the title and you get him out of that top 5 ranking so you don't have any issues there. But if Merab wins, I guess you kind of figure some stuff about Umar. Umar's still pretty young and he can figure some stuff out there. So I think you should make that fight. If like Sandhagen beats Cheeto Vera, do I really want to see Cheeto, or I'm not, sorry, do I really want to see Corey Sandhagen versus Merab? Not really. Maybe there's a threat there with like some flying knees, I guess, but I don't know. Sandhagen got submitted almost immediately to Aljamain. So maybe you do that fight. They're teammates of Aljamain. If he beats Merab, then I guess he earns a title shot. I don't know. Bantamweight division is now a mess. It's very unfortunate, but is what it is at this point. For Merab, very impressive win. He'll just be the gatekeeper for the title shot, I guess, or I guess anyone in the top 5, whoever loses to Aljamain Sterling. So Cejudo loses to Aljamain, maybe they do Merab. Actually, if Cejudo loses, he's probably going to retire again. Let's be real. Or he might move up to 145. But I don't know. Merab will probably fight whoever loses to Aljamain is basically what it's going to be. He's just gatekeeping for Aljamain is what it is. It's very unfortunate. It's not necessarily that I just don't like Merab. I feel like I would really like Merab if he would actually fight Aljamain Sterling, but he won't. So that's my main issue with him. He seems like a cool person. I wouldn't mind rooting for him if it wasn't for that. So very good win for Merab. Very impressive win, especially over a guy like Yan. Yan now falls, 4 losses in a row? Or no, it's 3 losses in a row. because he did beat Corey Sandhagen in the middle of there. So he lost to Aljamain with a legal knee, beat Corey Sandhagen, lost to Aljamain by a split decision, lost to Sean O'Malley by split decision, then lost to Merab 50-45. So, well, we'll see what happens with Jan. Hopefully he doesn't try to leave. That would be very unfortunate, but maybe if Cheeto loses, we see Cheeto versus Petr Yan, which would be really fun. So that's what I have for this card. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap. I don't have too much energy, honestly. This whole entire card crapped me out. I drove for wherever I was at for this last vacation or spring break or whatever, and I had to rush directly into this card. So I am absolutely tired. I'm ready to go to bed. I'm ready to make the next card predictions for next week. We'll see what happens. Honestly, I'm not too confident after this week. We have let me preview the card real quick. Just run through it. We have Cito versus Miller, Jai Herbert versus Ludwig Klein. I'll probably go Miller. Maybe I go. That's a tough matchup. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Jai Herbert looked decent as the last matchup. Casey O'Neill probably wins. Jake Hadley wins. I'll go Christian Leroy Duncan for this one probably. I don't know. I might need to look into that one again. Muhammad Makayev probably wins. Last two fights have been pretty competitive. Sam Patterson probably beats Yanal Ashimaz. Jack Shore versus Marco Murakami is a pretty interesting matchup. Chris Duncan versus Omar Morales should be pretty interesting also. Gabriel Santos makes his debut. Someone's gotta go. Marvin Vittori versus Dolidze, I'm kind of interested in for sure. It's just there's not strong name value outside of the main event and co-main event, which I'm kind of worried about. And there's 15 fights on this card. So I'll probably have to get right into this after this stream. So I hope you guys enjoyed the streams or whatever. Picks I'll try to get out tomorrow. If not, it'll probably be out on Monday. So I hope